To have creative control as a photographer, you have to venture beyond the automatic exposure mode on your camera. But if you're going to shoot frame-worthy photos, you must understand how to get the right exposure for the images you capture. Let's take a deeper look at what this means. A camera records an image of a scene by capturing the light bouncing off of the subject on film or a digital sensor in the case of a digital camera. The light source might be indoors, the sun outside, or the camera's flash. Either way, a camera uses light to make a photograph. The word photography actually means light drawing. Exposure refers to the amount of light the sensor or film is exposed to when you take a picture. It determines how light or dark the image will appear. Too little light and your image will be underexposed. Too much light will result in an overexposed image. Exposure consists of three elements, and together they form what is commonly called the exposure triangle. These three components are aperture, or f-stop, shutter speed, and ISO. The aperture is the hole in the lens that light passes through when a picture is taken. The size of the aperture, also known as the f-stop, can be adjusted. Larger openings allow for more light to enter the camera. Shutter speed is the length of time that the camera's sensor or film is exposed to light from the lens. Longer shutter speeds allow for more light to enter the camera, resulting in increased exposure. Our third component is ISO, which is the film's or digital sensor's sensitivity to light. Higher ISO numbers require less light to get a good exposure, but often result in photos that are grainier and lack the finer detail of images taken at low ISO. If you're still not sure how aperture, shutter speed, and ISO are related to one another, not to worry. Let's look at this another way. Here we have our lamp again, emitting waves of light. It can be hard to wrap one's mind around quantities of light, however, so instead let's imagine our light source is actually a source of water running through a faucet, and that a full bucket of water represents the correct exposure of a photograph, the ideal amount of light. Aperture would control the size of the stream coming out of the faucet. A small aperture constricts the flow of water passing through the faucet. Increasing the aperture lets more water flow through, and so it takes less time for the bucket to fill up. Shutter speed would be the length of time that the faucet is running. The longer the faucet is left on, the more water pours into the bucket. ISO would be the lid on the bucket you are trying to fill. The lid's holes allow for clean water to collect in the bucket while filtering out the dirt or impurities in the water that would make an image grainy and full of noise pollution. So a low ISO would be a lid with small holes in it. Like most metaphors, this one only goes so far, and you'll come across several variations if you look. But hopefully you've come away with more of an understanding of the three components of the exposure triangle.